Okay, guys, so nice little reminder of the session today. Risk disclaimer, keep this stuff in mind. Always like to remind everybody of that. Live sessions, here we are twice a day, UK and US sessions. One is typically a follow up of the other, whether it's the UK session being a follow up of the US session or the US session being a follow up of the UK session. We have two sessions a day to really kind of cover all the details that we're talking about. So make sure you're on with that. Of course, we have our free trial details. Most of you guys are members, but anybody watching this recording that needs a free trial, you can go to the website, click on pricing, sign up. That'll give you a 1 week free trial. This video and others are posted in the video library. This one will actually just be posted in the absolutely free area for everyone to watch because of our potential audio problems that we might have. Okay, and then remember, everybody, you can watch, you can get into the webinar by clicking on Launch Webinar, Watch List. All the details are over here. In the chat, we're in the social section there. All right. And of course, here's all the websites and the links and everything. Okay, let's get cranking here. Making sure everything's still coming through well. We've had some nice little movers and some good things happening, so that's been good. The watch list, and let me actually. I was looking at my clock, which I still have on Pacific time, and it wasn't the 29th yet, and so it kind of threw me off. So this is for the 29th. We've got some nice little setups. We've definitely got some good trades to work with here, and have seen some good trades. So let's go first of all to well, let's talk about this pound yen. Let's talk about pound yen. Who got a piece of the pound yen? Let's look at that. Who got some of this pound yen? Excuse me. This was a chart that I posted for everybody in the watch list and put some options in here and so on. Anybody get any pound yen activity? That ended up moving quite well and did exactly what we talked about it doing. I put two scenarios up here, and the first scenario ended up working very, very well. So we were talking about this right here, option one, break of 131.20 for a quick move into the weekly pivot. And then in the video yesterday, we talked about the fact that there could be a much larger move in the works. But if you only took it up to the weekly pivot, there was a nice little chunk of pips right there to be had. So I hope you guys were able to get into some of that. It broke and moved the the 35 to 30 to 35 pips we were looking for, and actually continued on very nicely there for a nice little move. It's up a little over 100 pips right now from that breakout zone. So that was a nice little trade, a nice little move. The two things we were looking for here was either a break of 131.20, which is posted right there, or a pullback and a retest, because we've got a bit of a falling wedge here. Pullback, retest, and then look for some entries down lower, but it didn't end up doing that. Instead, it just ended up breaking and running up very nicely. Uh, Damien still having some slight issues with the yen pairs. That's okay. That's okay. I know. And the pound yen is a little bit of a crazy one. We do have to be careful with the pound yen because it does move big time. But it moved very, very well for us. Gave us a really nice little setup there and worked out well. So I hope some got into that trade and made a few bucks on it because it was a really good little setup there. So let's go back to that chart. So falling wedge looking good. We go to some of the larger time frames here. You can see, as we've talked about, and one of the reasons this was so appealing is because of the triple bottom that we have here and a falling wedge and a breakout and so on and so on. And this thing just crushed and went fantastically well. So there's probably going to be some more opportunities to get into this pound yen on some pullbacks, and we'll definitely be keeping that in mind. We've got a nice weekly pivot up here that still is a nice target. I'm liking everything, just kind of feels lined up right now for pound pairs to start to rally. So I love that, and I think that's going to be a great little trade. Okay, good, Steve. Good. I got a pound yen entry. That's fantastic. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it, Steve. Good job. So this one worked well. Again, I sent it out. It was also posted, watch list little item right here, so you can see that was up and posted, and there was our watch list trade. So it went well. Very nice little setup. Glad to hear some got into it. And we'll keep an eye for some additional setups after some pullbacks. If you're in it, hold on to it because I like I said, I like pound bullishness across the board. I think there is great pound bullishness setting up. This falling wedge off the triple bottom was just kind of a no-brainer. It just worked out really, really well, as we would expect with the kind of setup that we saw here. So pound yen, very good little trade, worked like a champ. On the note of pound bullishness, I really still like a lot the euro pound. Is anybody doing anything on euro pound? Um, I've got a small entry. I will be totally honest. I've got a small entry on this one already because I don't want to go to sleep and miss this thing. So I'm in small, just right in this little area here. It's I think I'm 2 pips in profit or something like that. I checked just a few minutes ago, but actually about an hour ago. But the real entry and the real trade is the trendline break right here. So this has been hopping around under the channel. We had a nice channel here. This is, again, as well as posted in the watch list. So here's our item here. We'll turn this into, I'll make sure to kind of keep everyone totally updated on this. But our short-term head and shoulders right here is just looking fantastically excellent. And so, there's our watch list details. Okay, Vince, good. You're in this one. Yeah, I think this is absolutely worth waiting out. 100%, because this is such a good-looking little setup right here. If it gives us a little bit of a spike, I'm definitely not going to be concerned about that. And I semi-half expect it. There's no pivots to take out, but it may just need to retest that trend line one more time before it makes a break. And if it does, that will just make this kind of sideways, need to go to a chiropractor head and shoulders pattern look a little bit better. You can see that we've definitely had some testings here and so on. So if that can just kind of run back up and get towards the top of that area, that would just be a much more symmetrical and clean head and shoulders pattern, and we could really look for a nice move down. But if it doesn't give it to us, then we just want to sell the break of the trend line. That's it. Sell the break of the trend line, right shoulder, all of that good stuff, and target that weekly pivot. That's simply all we're looking for. That's all I want to see happen. That's what I want to get into, and so on. So it's a clean setup. It's a good looking setup. I think we have some good opportunity to get in this trade and hopefully make a couple of bucks on it. So let's be ready for that. Be ready for that trend line. I've got a chart alarm set. It's going to be hard to say the exact price I want to get into is because it's a moving target here. So we've just got to set our chart alarms, watch, and be ready and take this trade once everything breaks and confirms and gives us that run. So that's what we're looking for. If it does give us a big retest up in here, up around that maybe 86.50 area, then from there, I think there could be some nice opportunity to possibly get in at a better price. I would not hate 86.50. We could have stops above about 8,700, 8,715, somewhere in there. We could have some tighter stops. It would be a nice retest of everything. So that's okay. That would be a great little entry there as well. Get a nice little trend line drawn in on that. Let's just say, hypothetically that it does run up into that area. I would still want to just set a trend line of something like that and let it run up and break. So, I just want to get confirmation on this either way. So if it's going to run up and test that area, get that trend line break confirmation and get an entry, around the 86.50 area, hopefully, or thereabouts, Otherwise, we'll just trade the break of this larger trend line neckline area, which I think is pretty clean. So either way, it's a clean setup. And I'm very excited about getting into this one with some heavier positions. As I mentioned, I'm in it now, and it's it's just kind of hopping around, but not doing too much. But if it can give us a bigger, better movement, either up or down through this, we should have some better opportunities to get in with some nice sells. Pending sell 86.40. Okay, I like that. I like that. That looks that looks good. Nice little retest of that trend line. So I don't disagree with that at all. At all. So good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Yeah, very nice little setup. So we don't want to miss this. This is a very nice trade. This is a very excellent little setup here. And it should, honestly, it will probably only give us a probably only give us 60 to 80 pips, but it may actually give us more like 100 plus pips, because we've got some nice areas to trade down into if it can make a little bit of a better movement here. So for example, if we see something like this happen, and we take out that weekly pivot that's kind of in the way there, we've got some daily pivots and so on down there as well. I think we've got even a larger missed pivot target situation all the way down here around the 8100 and even down at 80. So, I mean, potentially as we come off this double top, there could be a lot of pips coming down. It's a pretty perfect double top. We hit this high over here, which we've almost matched to the pip on this high. So that guy is 87.25, and this current high is 87.15, so 10 pips off. We've got a rising wedge, or excuse me, a rising channel that is breaking, a possible short-term head and shoulders pattern. Basically, I can't say enough good things about this trade. I love it. I want to be in it. I think it's excellent. So the details are there. Let's make sure not to miss this trade. Okay, any questions about that? Is everybody good? Are we still good on audio, by the way? Is audio and video seeming to stay up and intact? And also, does anybody have any questions about the pound, euro pound trade? Okay, good. So in case I wasn't clear about it, euro pound, gonna be awesome. Let's make some bucks on this thing. Remember, if all we get is a break of this trend line and a move down of 60 to 80 pips, this is the euro pound. This pays out a lot. We talk about some of these pairs. We talk about the peso and the krone paying out thousands of pips, and they pay out less a pip. This one moves, less pips, 60 to 80 pips, but it pays out about double of what the average do. So, if this moves 60 to 80 pips, it's more like, 150 pip movement, give or take, because it requires a little bit more, but it pays a little bit more, which is nice. So we've got a nice setup here. I'm optimistic we can grab 80 pips out of this thing, and I like it a lot. So that's euro pound. Okay, that is that. Okay, pound yen worked great. Euro pound in the works. Loving that one. New Zealand CAD. This is a trade that we're still in. I haven't closed this. I know that we've kind of been talking about it a bit and so on. This was a pending order at 95.50 that sold. I know, or that filled. Excuse me, not sold. That filled. 95.50, and it got a little painful. It was against us 70 or 80 or 90 pips at one point, but it never reached our stop loss, so I didn't close it, and it's actually looking very good, I think. If you're not in New Zealand CAD yet, or if you think it's scary or any of the above, there are areas to get into. You can see New Zealand CAD peaked out up here around 96.80 actually, so 96.80, and it dropped from 96.80 to 9,500 in a pretty short amount of time. So that's a nice little run that we saw right there for a good little chunk of pips, 180 pips or so. And now it's just kind of hanging out down here. we've got a missed daily pivot right here. We want it to hit that missed daily pivot and then hopefully just continue on down through. If you're not in this trade from the 95.50, because again, we're in profit now. If you're not in this or if you've closed this, I know Steve was asking me about this. He said he'd been writing this trade out for months. You actually got in way back here, and you didn't want to sit through another rally, as you mentioned, and so on. And the thing that I said was, if you're at break even, take the trade off, close it, because I'm not worried about missing this trade at all. I think we've got a fantastic opportunity for, if you're still in it, adding positions, and if you're not in it yet, getting into the trade for the first time. So this is a rising wedge. We love rising wedges. They work great. They're fantastic, very common, very reliable chart patterns. And so this rising wedge right here looks really clean, and this is still holding and kind of maintaining its composure here. We're looking at this trend line initially as kind of the entry point. It dipped down. It gave us that kind of crappy candle right there, pulled back up and got kind of messy. Well, it's now testing a couple of times this guy right here. So we had that little test. It bounced all the way up, not that small of an amount. It bounced up from 94.65 all the way up here to 96.80. And then it's back down again. It's respecting these highs. It's staying below those major levels. And remember, this is what those major levels look like up above. That's a lot of resistance that this pair does not seem to want to break. A lot of failures off those levels, and this is just kind of the making everybody pay the price, making everybody kind of withstand the craziness for a little bit before it finally starts to move and give us a big, fantastic push down. I'm in it. I will get into it again and again and again until we get down probably into that 90 area. I'm going to hold on to this thing. I think it's got a lot of potential. It's a big, massive pattern, and we're starting to see a lot of CAD strength, and we're seeing New Zealand weakness, and this is something I want to be in big time. So hopefully we can get a lot of trades on this thing and make a lot of money. Good, Vince. You're in it to stay. I love it. Gerhard entry 96.60. Other ones at break even. Okay, just one moment, guys. Okay. All right, we're back, guys. Okay, so Vince here to stay. All right, good. All right, and Gerhard entry 96. One entry 96.60. The other one is at break even. That is excellent, Gerhard. That is totally fantastic. Very good. So yeah. I about this one as well. I can't say enough good things. We want to just hold on to this puppy. Now, let me show you a chart that makes me even more excited about this trade. We know that New Zealand dollar is coming off levels. Pound New Zealand's looking bullish. New Zealand CAD's looking bearish. So we have New Zealand weakness setting up absolutely well. We have the Canadian dollar that has been beat up a little bit, but we know that the dollar or the Canadian dollar moves decently well with oil. Anyone looked at oil lately? Just curious. Anyone following the oil chart? Because remember, oil is going to impact the Canadian dollar, the krone, the US dollar. Oil is going to have a big impact on a lot of these pairs, and we can't forget about that. So if we look at oil, it looks a little bit like this. And we may be saying to ourselves, so what? Well, this is what that so what looks like here. We have a perfect symmetrical head and shoulders pattern here. It hasn't confirmed yet. That's very important to know. It has not confirmed that this is completely a head and shoulders. It's got to get above that neckline. But if it does, do we have 64.50 as a possibility? Is 64.50 possible? Maybe. And our neckline is looking very good right here. And you know, if we can clear about that 51.50, $52 mark, oil is probably going to make a nice move. Now, I know that I just recently read a couple of the large oil companies have a $50 billion project that's going to bring more oil into the market, and so on and so on. And all these people are pumping oil and everything. And there's a glut and there's all this good stuff. I get that. And I don't know what any of that means. What I do know is that we have a technical setup, and if it confirms, if it plays out, there's a very good chance that we could see a clean movement here. So this is purely technical, but with all these things happening, if oil ends up confirming this head and shoulders pattern, it's not a very small deal. It's a pretty big deal, in fact. And so you can see we've had this huge rundown, this huge movement to the downside. And now if we get that confirmation above that neckline, we're going to see, you know, a pair like New Zealand CAD that is already showing some you know, New Zealand weakness along with other New Zealand pairs. And now we have the Canadian strong side to it. This is awesome. This is super great. Number one. Number two, what will this tell us potentially about dollar pairs? Kind of a lot, I think. Look at the dollar index compared to oil. Let's zoom that guy out just a little bit. This chart gets a little bouncy, but here's dollar index and here's oil. Oil strength. Remember that the dollar is, you know, these commodities are priced in US dollars. So when we see oil weakness, like we've seen here, we see some dollar strength. And when we see some oil strength, we can see some dollar weakness. So here's oil doing nothing for a while. Dollar did not too much. Oil drops like a rock. Dollar rallies pretty well. Oil's kind of consolidating down here. Dollar's consolidating up here. If we get a nice little break to the upside, that could drag the US dollar down. We know we have a nice wedge on the dollar index. We'll look at that in a moment. But we could see that starting to come down pretty well as well. So that being the case, we have got a very nice, very nice little bit of confirmation going on here with the setup in oil, and you know, especially as it pertains to what we have going on with our New Zealand CAD. So I'm really interested in watching this setup and seeing this play out. You can see I've got a shorter term trend line right here that I've got a chart alarm set on. I'm watching. If we start getting above that, you know, that's just going to add to the bullishness and kind of give us a little bit of maybe early confirmation. But ultimately, we still do need that neckline break. So we got to have that neckline break. We have a missed monthly pivot right here, 59.40. We have a missed monthly pivot here, 70.83. We have a missed monthly pivot here, 84. You know, and so on. Another missed monthly pivot at $100. I think that's all the monthly pivots we have there. But so there's plenty of missed pivots to be targeting on the upside. We've got it. We do have a missed pivot down here as well. So I'm not taking that out of the picture. But lots of missed pivots to be aiming for. Lots of stuff to be working with here on oil. Away we go. So we've got some good things to be looking at and working with on this movement. Anybody have any questions about that? That's a nice little setup. So once again, as that comes back to New Zealand CAD, how bad do I want to be in this with New Zealand weakness and potential CAD strength? More than probably almost any other pair. This is, you know, this is an exciting setup that we absolutely want to be in the most serious way. So, all right. Any questions, guys? Any questions? I think that's awesome. I'm really ready to rock and roll on that thing. Okay, so that's New Zealand CAD. We talked about Euro Pound, Pound Yen. I skipped down New Zealand CAD because I was all excited about that one. I want to spend 10 seconds on Euro Yen because I think it merits 10 seconds, maybe more. I am more bullish on Euro Yen than before. I was kind of looking at this little channel here, And I think this guy is kind of out of the picture now. We had that whole movement, and things were breaking and bouncing and doing all this stuff here. Basically, what I'm watching for on Euro Yen is this exact thing right here. It seems to be holding this level. I've got a chart alarm in case it doesn't hold. I've got a chart alarm here. This is a very well respected, well tested trend line. I want to buy the break of that, and I want to trade this thing through this nice little area right here. That's where I want to be in this. Trade it up into that 200 moving average, up into that top of the channel. I want to be in this Euro Yen from hopefully, 11500 area up into 120. I want 500 pips out of the Euro Yen. Now, we may not get it because I think the euro dollar, or excuse me, the euro is not the strongest currency. I think we have good reasons to believe that yen pairs will continue to show weakness, but I don't know if the euro has all of the push it needs. But let's keep this in mind because we could have entries coming up sooner than later. We're sitting at 11400. This is a fantastic trend line, and we could see a very nice movement there. So that's all I want to say about it. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I don't think we need to. This is a great setup. A great setup. Let's keep our eyes on this, and let's be ready to buy that break. So Euro Yen looks good. Okay, so that is Euro Yen. Let's spend 2 shakes of a stick here on, okay, so we've covered these 4 guys. Let's talk about Pound Aussie. Chris was talking about this one yesterday. He totally was getting into this and got it more on my radar. I wasn't looking at it as much, so this is definitely a trade Chris was looking at. I just kind of wanted to follow up on it. I like it. I think it's great. And I think we have, as this chart comes up eventually, I think we have some good stuff to look for here. And it's already doing pretty well, actually. When I was looking at it this morning, it was sitting down here. I drew a secondary trend line. This guy right here, that's why my notes say secondary trend line break up. And it's already kind of done that while we've been sitting talking about everything else. So we had this nice little channel, broke, retest, create another channel, break, and let's get that movement into 170, 100 weekly pivot. So that one looks really good. I like that trade idea. I think it's totally fantastic. And let's get it back up into there. Remember, we're going to have some difficulty around the 170, 170.50 level. This was a chart that I talked about last week-ish sometime. This is a 170 takes us down into some pretty historic levels and so on. So we've got to kind of keep this in mind. But I think overall I like this setup. I think this is great. It's a I'm liking pound bullishness, clean channel break, clean retest, another break. So if you're not in this, watch this trade. If you are in it, everything's confirming nicely and it's doing pretty well. Definitely kind of getting above some of these resistance levels and highs around the 170 area is going to be important. But once we clear that, the weekly pivot should be next up. Okay, so is anybody in that Pound Aussie? Who's in Pound Aussie? Okay, Vince is in Pound Aussie. Anyone else? That's good, Vince. Yeah, Vince. I think it's worth. I think it's worth hanging on. I like this. I like those clean breaks. Everything's looking great there. So, anyone else got a Pound Aussie trade, or is there utter and sheer silence on the Pound Aussie? Because I think this is a pretty good little setup. Hey, Doug. Nice to see you. Good to see you, Doug. And okay, so Pound Aussie is looking pretty fantastic. And remember, Doug and anyone else that may have just jumped in here, click on chat right here and social, and you'll be able to type in all your questions, comments, anything right in that area there. Okay, and again, guys, this is recorded. I don't always record these, but this one is recorded today. Kevin, you think it needs more confirmation? Biggest reason I say is because of the swaps. Not good. Yeah, that's true. It's true. It does have some intense swaps. And looking for a little more confirmation is not a bad thing because the chart, remember, if you guys remember the chart I posted a couple of days ago is all about that 170/170.50 level. And if we make a break, what could be headed happening there is, a lot of struggle around that 170/170.50. But I think this short term and good, Mike, good. I think this short term movement here is very happy and good and confirming that hopefully we'll at least get a move up into 200 moving average slash weekly pivot point. So we've got that whole situation there. We're about 213 bars on the 1 hour chart. All good things. Pound Aussie is looking pretty great. Okay, so any questions on that Pound Aussie, let me know. Let's spin. I can't get my chart to work on Pound Swiss on here. At least it hasn't worked the last 10 attempts this morning. Is anyone else having that problem? Well, never mind. I guess it's working now. Okay, so it wasn't working all morning, so I was doing the analysis on MetaTrader, but Pound Swiss is good. This is a very, very good setup. If we look at this on the shorter term time frame here, you can see that the 1 hour chart has tested a bunch of times. We broke, and then it's just been chopping around here, and it's got this nice little double top. I think we can get some nice additional entries above about this 126.70. I like this area. I think there's great things happening here. If we go to larger time frames, we can see this kind of thing happening here, which is it still is consolidated. It's got a fantastic triple bottom, which is awesome. It's breaking the trend line. It's on the right side of this trend line. We've got a missed pivot up here, missed daily pivots, all kinds of stuff to be aiming for. But more importantly, and maybe most importantly, is that it's just coming off of those lows. It's breaking trend lines. We had a big fail right here. And we had a great trade on this one, by the way. The Pound Swiss was a great 15-minute trade. It's failing right here, consolidating. 126.70 is something I'm going to be watching. And if we get that movement, I think there is some pretty excellent potential in the works here. So let's watch this thing. Let's look for some movement up into these upper levels here. I want to take this up into 130 and maybe even beyond, but at least make a good little move there. So. Pound Swissy is looking good. I don't have anything on this right now, but I do want to be in it. With a little bit of additional confirmation above that nice little resistance level. If this starts to pull back, if this pair gives us some of this business right here, which it very well could, and kind of hops around like that, just draw a trend line. Very simple. Draw a trend line, trade the break of the trend line. That's all we want to do. It's so simple. Either we're going to buy the break of 126.70 or we're going to watch this consolidate and buy the break of that trend line. It's going to do one or the other. If it just keeps dropping and tanking, then that's fine. It's not going to give us really any good bullish breakouts anyways. But that's what I want to see happen here. And I think we've got some great potential for some good upside. I'm really getting anxious to get into a lot of pound pairs long. So let's be ready for that. Okay, guys, so we've covered some pretty excellent setups here. Very excited. Oil has a fantastic bullish head and shoulders pattern. What's this going to do? Hopefully drive the Canadian dollar higher, give us some New Zealand CAD love. Below about 9,500, we have some great confirmation on New Zealand CAD to add to the position or get into it if you got in and got out or if you didn't get in at all. So this one looks really good. Euro pound, probably my favorite trade for the coming moments here. Pound yen worked out super awesome. Euro yen is anywhere from 50 to 100 pips away from confirming a potential 500 pip move for me. So very excited about that. New Zealand CAD, awesome. Pound Aussie, just a little more confirmation. It keeps on running for us. So that's great. Pound Swiss franc. 126.70 is important. Resistance. How do you spell resistance? A or E? Oh, there we go. spell check on there. Okay, so so that is great, and then oil is just setting us up for a nice little move there. Everything looks awesome here, guys. I'm 100% ready for some good activity and good action on this pound, euro pound, pound yen, pound Aussie, pound Swiss. All these guys are looking really, really good. So, any questions, guys? Any questions? Any comments? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I want to hear your guys' favorite charts right now. And the pressure is on. So let's hear it.